Mario Gotze and Jadon Sancho are two different sides to the same model at Borussia Dortmund. Mario Gotze is laughing. The 26-year-old, scorer of the winning goal in the 2014 World Cup final, was also a teenage Borussia Dortmund prodigy once, like Jadon Sancho. He has just been asked whether there are similarities between an 18-year-old Sancho and an 18-year-old Gotze, and he guffaws. "Yeah, we were very similar," he replies. He means it in a self-depreciating way. What he intends to convey is that there aren't many who ever made the kind of impact the Englishman has in the Bundesliga at the age of 18. "He's super advanced for his age," says Gotze. "Especially given the situation in which he finds himself, coming to Dortmund. It's gone super well for him, and it's important for him that he continues like this, bringing his spontaneity that helps the team." Gotze's protestations are a little too much, however. There are similarities. He too was a wonderkind who made his Bundesliga debut at 17. And by the age of 18, under Jurgen Klopp, he had played a key role in winning a Bundesliga title. Sancho can yet do the same, though Bayern closed the gap on Dortmund to 5 points at the weekend. On Wednesday at Wembley against Tottenham, Sancho and Gotze will represent opposite ends of Dortmund's success, two different stories of youth development, but both key into unraveling the secret as to how this club keeps punching above its weight in Europe, whilst managing to keep tickets pegged between €17 and €55. And there are some broad similarities between Dortmund and their opponents Tottenham. Essentially, if you're competing against clubs with much bigger budgets, then you have to be an awful lot smarter. And they are. Bayern's wage bill was around £266 million last season compared to Dortmund's £163 million. Tottenham's was £127 million in 2016-17 compared to Manchester City's declared bill of £260 million last season, Manchester United's £296 million and Liverpool's £263 million. Even if we can expect to see Tottenham's bill rise when they report accounts shortly, they will still be approximately half of what United and City pay. So Tottenham, in the use of academy players and their smart transfer trading, are the club most like a Bundesliga club in the Premier League. Which is a massive compliment, for those wondering. Gotze is the poster boy for the Dortmund youth system, having joined at the age of 8. And even he left in the most acrimonious of circumstance to join Bayern. He came back and is now in the vanguard of a team that might win Dortmund their first title since the Klopp era. Sancho is the other side of what Dortmund do best. As an incubator of Europe's young talents, they are probably the best at what they do, though Tottenham run them close and Porto and Ajax deserve honorable mentions. This is the club with the most efficient scouting networks across Europe, and, it turns out, North America, and with the track record of turning a young kid into a World Cup winner. Barcelona used to be the template for that, but the success of one generation ended up blocking the pathway for the next. If you want to make a smart move at 18, Dortmund are a great bet, and Sancho, his family and his agent, Amico Bossi, saw that. More importantly, they had the courage to act on it rather than take the money on offer at Manchester City. I think the most important thing is not to make promises you can't keep afterwards, says Michael Zorc, Dortmund's sporting director. We don't say you're going to play definitely. We just say there is the opportunity for you. Sometimes it's very easy just to show the team sheet and look at the lineup. How many players, 20 years and younger, are playing in our team each Saturday? And not in a cup game, which is maybe not so important. In important games, against Bayern Munich, against Borussia Mönchengladbach, and also Champions League games. It's a combination of having maybe a better opportunity to play than in the home clubs and at the highest level. Dortmund are keen to stress that they're not knocking other models, just happy to talk about what they do. But we can draw the comparison, and Zorc's reference to the cup competitions is pointed. Parents of young English prodigies have referred to it as the Carabao Cup trick, as detailed by Miguel Delaney here. Premier League clubs talk up a brief sub-appearance in the lesser games and dress it up as meaningful development and use it as a lever to persuade parents and young players to sign a long-term contract. Once the contract is signed and the transfer value of their teen star is protected, they sign an expensive older player to fill that role and the younger player falls further down the pecking order. Essentially, you either believe in young players or you don't. Mauricio Pochettino does. Pep Guardiola used to. Maurizio Sarri doesn't. Lucien Favre does. Sancho has had 13 starts in the Bundesliga since the start of the season, including the 3-2 win against Bayern Munich and 2 in the Champions League. He will start on Wednesday. This is the test of whether a coach really trusts you. Callum Hudson-Odoi, the same agent ahead of Sancho 2 years ago, is playing at a lesser club in terms of status, Europa League club as opposed to a Champions League, and attendances, an average of 40,000 against an average of 79,000, and has been afforded 0 starts in the Premier League in a team that is palpably failing with its current personnel. He did get starts in Europa League against PAOK Salonika and Vidi, but only Chelsea had qualified for the last 32. He has been trusted to start the 2 FA Cup games, but it will be intriguing to see whether the manager's confidence extends to the Manchester United game on Monday. The only match of import in which Sarri has trusted him to start is the first leg of the Carabao Cup semi-final against Tottenham, and that, coincidentally, came after Bayern Munich had lodged their £35 million bid and the player had made it clear he wanted to go. Take Phil Foden, Golden Ball winner at England's Under-17 World Cup win, when Sancho was a sub, no starts in the Premier League on a total of 91 minutes. He did get 15 minutes against Burnley, when City were 3-0 up, and a whole 21 minutes against Cardiff, once City were 4-0 up. He has started 1 FA Cup game and 4 Carabao Cup matches, but had to wait until City were 5-0 up against Burton in the semi-final to get on. He could be trusted to start the second leg, with a 9-0 lead established. City deserve more slack than Chelsea, and that Foden is competing against the best midfielders in Europe. Hudson-Odoi clearly isn't competing against the best attackers. And, the real hammer blow for Hudson-Odoi, is that Chelsea have signed the man Sancho ousted from the team at Borussia Dortmund for £58 million to relegate him further down the list of potential starters. And therein lies the other secret of Dortmund's development. Pulisic was scouted in 2014 at a USA Under-17 match. We scouted Jadon for the first time in August 2016, 1 year ahead of when we signed him, says Zorc. We mainly watched him for his matches with the England Under-17 and of course when he played for Man City in the Youth League games. You could easily recognize his outstanding talent. And therefore it was very easy. Now they have reaped the benefit, taking £58 million Pulisic, a player who has been ousted from the first team by Sancho, who they signed for £8 million. Sancho initially was slated to replace Ousmane Dembele, who they had signed for £13 million and sold for £108 million. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang was signed for £11 million and sold for £57 million. Mats Hummels they took from the Bayern Munich reserves for £3 million and sold him back to Bayern for £31 million. They sold Gotze to Bayern for £33 million and bought him back for £19 million. They got Robert Lewandowski for £4 million, and if you can argue they mismanaged his contract, losing him to Bayern on a free, they had 4 wonderful seasons from him, 2 title wins, a DFB Cup win and a Champions League final. So Dortmund do that simple things well. They scout well and trade smart. RB Leipzig and Dortmund were ahead of curve when it came to picking up young talent, recognizing the English teams were the best 3 years ago, before they started winning titles. Now the rest of the Bundesliga are following, hence Bayern's bid for Hudson-Odoi, and the reason why every England age group match now has a bevy of German scouts. We are open-minded for these top talents in England, but we did this before in France with Dan-Axel Zagadou from PSG, on a free transfer, or Dembele, says Zorc. He was already a senior player but in his first year, when we signed him. We're focusing on Spain as well, because they're the football Education is on a high level as well. When you watch now what happened the last 6 months, there are some German clubs that are trying to go this way as well. And Zorc's mission statement is noteworthy. Our target is to be always at least second in the Bundesliga table because it's difficult to beat Bayern Munich because there's a big distance regarding revenue and so on and money you can spend for players, especially salary. But we also want to have a good performance in Champions League, to participate and to be competitive to be the best 12, 16 clubs in Europe. That's more or less our focus. In essence, Dortmund know what they are. They have a clear identity at present. Tottenham do too. Whether you can say the same about the likes of Chelsea, Manchester United, Arsenal and Real Madrid at present is questionable.